This how-to video explains some of the different functionalities of the Experiment Advisor. Note, the Experiment Advisor is available for ePrime Professional only. One of the many new features of the ePrime production release is the Experiment Advisor. The Experiment Advisor gives experiments the ability to detect design and timing errors in both eStudio and eRun. You can also set the Experiment Advisor to report different statistics like onset time, offset time, and load delay. To access the Experiment Advisor, navigate to the Experiment Properties page by either clicking here or pressing Ctrl-E and clicking on the Experiment Advisor tab. The Experiment Advisor tab holds a lot of important options about the experiment. The top portion of the tab has to do with the actual generation of the Experiment Advisor report. You can set the experiment to run an Experiment Advisor report upon the generation of your script and or after the run of the experiment. You will also have the option to receive feedback while the report is being processed. This feedback is displayed on the output window and lets you know exactly what stage of the report the Experiment Advisor is currently working on. The bottom section of the Experiment Advisor tab has to do with different modules available on the Experiment Advisor report. Simply checking or unchecking this checkbox will turn off all modules or turn them back on. These modules are each different potential design or timing issues that the Experiment Advisor can look out for. This includes anything from possible design issues such as text objects that have the same background color as foreground color, to timing issues like setting the display adapter to clone mode and all the possible timing consequences it could have. Scroll down through this list of modules and check the ones you wish to see a report about. Once this is done, click OK to save the changes and exit. If you generate your experiment and open the output window, you will see this near the bottom of your screen. It says it is done processing the modules you just selected. Scrolling up through the output window, you will see a list of all of the modules that you checked in the Experiment Advisor, and that it ran each one of these modules during the generation of the script. Now, I'm going to run the experiment quickly to show you the full Experiment Advisor report. After the experiment runs, if you look at the output window, you will see two different links. This is also a new feature of ePrime. The top link will take you to the edat2 file that was created. The bottom link will send you to the Experiment Advisor report. Click on this link to see the Experiment Advisor report. In the Experiment Advisor report, you are given a lot of helpful information. The first bit of information you see is the basic experiment information. This includes subject, session, group, date and time, and even how long the experiment took to run. The next few sections are blank for me, as I did not wish to see the output, but this is the onset to onset time, which is essentially how long it took the experiment to get from the beginning of one object to the beginning of another. Onset delay status, which is the amount of time between when the object should have been displayed to when it was actually displayed, and the load time stats. The Experiment Advisor findings lists the potential problems with the experiment, whether it was a design or timing problem, and how often it occurred. The Experiment Advisor modules were the modules that you checked before the run of the experiment. If you enable them, it should say yes, and will have checked for that during the run of the experiment. Otherwise, it will say no. The clock info and device info are fairly self-explanatory. The clock info shows you what clock you were using to record the time of the experiment and the experiment start clock read info. The device info tells you about each of the enabled devices during that run. The final section of the Experiment Advisor report is the Running Application section. This chart tells you exactly what programs were running during the experiment, how big they were if they were running in kilobytes, the last time each program was modified, and how big the program is in kilobytes. With this information, you can find out exactly what background programs were running during the experiment and how much memory they took. This could be used as a helpful diagnostic debugging tool. This concludes the Experiment Advisor how-to video.